everyone, welcome to episode 4 of the Volume by Volume podcast. I'm Dai.
And I'm Daughter.
And today we will be sharing our thoughts on volumes 7 and 8 of Assassination Classroom by Yusei Matsui. This one is published by Viz, rated older teen. We are reading this as part of the Monochrome Manga Club series reads. The Monochrome Manga Club is an in-real-life manga club that we host at a local Barnes & Noble where we read 2 first-in-a-series selections, and we're currently doing 2 full series reads. This is one of those series reads. This episode will contain spoilers, so if you haven't read these volumes, we suggest that you not listen to this recording until you have. So I think that's all we need to say beforehand. So, Daughter, what did you think of these volumes?
They are very enjoyable. But I mean, everything that we've read so far has been enjoyable for me. And because there is progression and plot, I think that also contributes to the interest factor for me.
Yeah, I don't think, a lot happened. There were 2, separate things that kind of happened within these volumes. The one thing being the kind of culmination of what we were leading up to in the previous volumes with the testing and how all that went for our students. And then we got the trip. Now, within the 2 things, yeah, there were things that happened, but there weren't, a lot of different scenes, like we kind of had in the previous volumes. I really enjoyed these volumes also. I feel like we are getting more time with other students again. We're getting more of a focus on Nagisa and what he is kind of inclined.
Like his potential on the field.
Yes, his potential on the field. Thank you. Couldn't put my words together there. But I definitely think that we got a kind of big focus on that in these volumes. But we also got to spend time with several other students. I mean, we were seeing the gymnast and how lithe she was and how that is kind of an asset to the types of things that they're trying to do. And the 2 sharpshooters, we got some time with them. Our students got poisoned during the trip portion, and so there's some kind of scientific medical type things kind of going on with a few of the students and trying to figure out an antidote. We also got some more specified scenes with Irina and her specialities, as well as Karasuma, who, I don't know about you, but for me, especially in volume 8, every time he was on page looked very different. I feel like his features are always changing and he doesn't have a set look. I don't know. The other students, their physical features, their facial features, they don't change as much as I feel like Karasuma does on page.
Now we could just boil it down to, he was incapacitated for a while. So maybe this was just a reflection of, how unwell he was.
I don't know. It was kind of strange for me, though. I was like, why does he look so different? But in any case, really, really enjoyable. And the fact that Koro-sensei is incapacitated for quite a bit of volume 8, we have to see our students kind of step up to the plate and do what they need to do in order to overcome the situation that they're in.
Yeah, and it's kind of like a continuation of a big point that was within 7, I think, where the students were allowed to remove Koro-sensei's tentacles to try to actually take him out. It was kind of like showing them that they do have the skills needed to perform what needs to be done, but they had a lack of self-esteem, especially with Jaime and Chiba, our sharpshooters. Even if Koro-sensei cannot physically help them, I think that whole debacle before the whole poisoning incident is kind of like a grand teaching experience, even if he isn't the one doing the teaching, because Irina will help and distract people. And then Karasuma is incapacitated. So these students have to rely on what their teachers have taught them beforehand. And it's kind of giving them that little sense of, confidence that they are learning things and they are improving. Even if it doesn't seem like that in front of, big boss Kroto Sensei.
Yeah, they definitely got a chance to, spread their wings a little bit, apply what they've learned, and really kind of think outside of the box. Because really the only person that they've been applying these types of combat tactics with is Kroto Sensei, because the main objective is to take him out. But now here's a group that is really after them and has poisoned several of the students in their group. And, we get to the end of volume 8 and we find out why, which don't even get me started that we stopped at a cliffhanger. That was the worst possible cliffhanger that they could have stopped at. I get the stopping right before the big test or, things like that. That's fine. But when you stop right before a big battle, that's the worst possible spot for me as a reader to be oh my gosh, I gotta stop. And then because we are reading this for part of a club and, there's a certain schedule we need to stick to, it's not like I can just pick up the next volume and be oh, let me just read. So that's even worse. Because otherwise, if I wasn't reading this with the club, I would have just been oh yeah, I need to read the next volume. But I can't. I can't do that for a month. So it's oh.
Fortunately, though, we know what's going to happen. We do have prior experience, even if it's very fuzzy.
Yes, it's very fuzzy. Just a refresher in case this is your first time listening to us. Daughter and I have watched most of the anime several years ago, and Daughter has read the entirety of this manga one time through several years ago as well. So details are pretty fuzzy. For me, I think it's probably fuzzier than for the daughter, but this is my first time reading through most of the volumes. And so, yeah, I do kind of remember the general ending to what's happening here in this particular scene, but the details I don't remember at all. And so I was just oh, no. So, yeah, I did kind of feel a sense of letdown when I finished volume 8. But yeah, I really enjoyed these volumes, and we kind of really skipped over volume 7, went straight to 8, because for me, 8 was the most action-packed, had a lot of the kids being focused on and their individual abilities. Of course, we had Nagisa doing his cross-dressing, which he fit right in. And so, yeah, I really enjoyed all the separate sections where the kids were coming up against walls and overcoming them throughout volume 8. But back to volume 7, they had a big hurdle to overcome there as well. We get the results of the big test and all of the stuff that's on the line for them and the prizes involved.
Yeah, and it also led to some growth for Karma unexpectedly.
I really enjoy Karma. I've always enjoyed Karma, and I feel he gets more time again in the anime than we've gotten with him here in the manga. But I think that's just because, in general, with the manga, we're getting a lot more time with some of the other kids.
Which is something that I really appreciate considering the size of 3E. They are a full-sized class. So being able to see everyone's, specialities, at least for a few moments, is appreciated compared to what we saw in the anime, where it It was only like we saw maybe 5 people, maybe 6, depending on, the circumstances. So seeing everyone's growth in relation to each other is a nice point to look at.
Mm-hmm. In regards to the testing, our 3E kids did really, really good, and they just keep getting better and better with every test. Definitely something unexpected by the main student campus, or main campus students, and several of them got first place over the course of the testing in the different departments over the kids on the main campus. So they're doing really, really well.
The specialized crash courses that Koro-sensei gave them, kind of like a cram period, definitely helped, I believe. Because he decided, just throw general ed out the window. We're going to focus on like that one subject that I know that this student can do really well. And they definitely flexed during that test, I would say.
Well, and then I really enjoyed when, all of the results came in and Kuro-sensei is like, okay, you have so many tentacles. And then this small group of students is like, but wait, we got first place in home ec.
And Kuro-sensei is like, I did not count home ec as part of the general courses. But they're all like, objection.
So I really like how the class kind of interacts with one another, and they're putting on their thinking caps. I wouldn't say looking for those loopholes, but they're making situations advantageous to themselves. And so that means that they're thinking more critically than they were when we first met them. So again, you can see a progression where things are starting to change with the students, and just general things like looking at a situation and what's the best outcome for this and how do we overcome this hurdle types of things. Whereas before, it's not even something that they would have even had crossed their minds, I don't think. Maybe a couple of the students, but not most of them.
And I think it's because of the environment they were in. Because, back to, the very common argument, the main campus looks out for themselves. They looked out for themselves in the final test. 3E didn't. They kind of helped each other out, So, in contrast to the main campus, Class 3E does things as a tag team, kind of.
Or collectively.
So, having, the different viewpoints of, this attack field that they called their test also helped them get the upper hand against the single-minded, oh, I am the best, I'm going to take this down, main campus. And we saw that with, a lot of those top 5 members of the campus. I don't remember any of their names besides Asano. But he was still first in everything, I think, so.
Yeah, but that still wasn't enough for his dad, right?
Oh, no, they were both angry at each other.
Now, do we think that, with the growth of 3E and how they've been testing, where the first test, wasn't as good as this test, but this test, a lot of them really shined. Do we think that the main campus students are going to learn from this and start working in a different way? Maybe they'll start to collaborate with each other. Probably not. I don't feel like they're at that point yet where they can learn, hey, we need to change something. I still feel like they're all out for themselves.
Well, yeah, I think that they're still angry that they were humbled. And I don't think that's going to turn anything for the better. I think they're just gonna be all like, I'm gonna dive myself into studying more for myself again and make sure that I know everything that's current and relevant, and I don't care about anybody else. Well, we might see subtle changes though. You never know about Asano. You don't know what types of things that he's scheming behind his father's back. We don't know how Asano the principal is scheming behind his son's back. They might...
Or even just scheming in general. He's just a big schemer.
Oh, yeah, true. Who knows? They might change. They might. Not so sure if they will, though.
Yeah. I guess that will remain to be seen. But I really enjoyed the outcome of the testing. And, you know, I feel like the way that it was presented was more realistic also because, you know, they didn't come on top for every class. So there's still that room for them to grow, right? Whereas if they had come out on top for everything in this exam, I would have been like, no, there's no way. I mean, but I like how the story is kind of kept grounded with the way that the class is progressing, and we're seeing small jumps in progression and, you know, the application of their teachings and what they're learning and how that's impacting the way that they approach certain situations. And so I really feel like this whole like series up to this point has been really good about showing progression in abilities, in learning, and other things like that.
Yes, it's one of those heartwarming series that does a good job at showing what people can do when given the right tools to learn.
And we are going to see more of that with whatever happens in the situation we are left with at the end of Volume 8. Oh my goodness. I'm still really loving the covers of these volumes too, because they pretty much apply to whatever's going on in the volume. Like, Volume 7, we kind of get Angry Face Koro Sensei on the cover, but I don't really feel like there was a situation where he would be angry.
But I think they were still cycling through his standard facial features, you know, kind of like the ones that he would use within the classroom. But Volume 8 was definitely showing Koro Sensei in destructible mode for 24 hours.
Right, which is very applicable to what happened in the volume. I think that's pretty much all that happened in these volumes. Like, I really feel like these volumes, because we only focused on two kind of major things going on, there isn't really a lot to like talk about with these two particular volumes as opposed to the previous volumes that we've kind of shared our thoughts with on before. So yeah, this one's going to be a shorter episode, but I think that's pretty much all that I have to say. What about you, daughter?
I'm very happy that Hayami and Chiba are making their appearance. They're some of my favorite side characters to this story. I really like that impacts that they have because a lot of the students are focused on close combat situations. But sharpshooting, snipers, you know, we've seen them in this series. And seeing them, you know, do their thing, you know, flexing their gun skills, I was always drawn to that in the anime. So seeing them shine here in manga format is really fun. I'm happy. I hope to see more of them. I think that's it.
All right. So let us know down in the comments below what you thought of these volumes. If you're reading along with us, you can share your thoughts on these selections with us down in the comments below, or you can join our Discord, which is also linked down in the description box below. We'll be back with you for our thoughts on volumes 9 and 10 sometime in the later part of May, if not early June. And until next time, we hope that you will continue reading Assassination Classroom with us, volume by volume. Bye!